Hi, today I want to talk about the power of listening. And I was reflecting upon a time a few years ago when one of my sons was talking to me and I was doing something at the same time. And he stamped his foot and said, "Dad, you're not listening to me." And he was absolutely right. And I think that's one of the issues we have in society today, which is not listening as well as we should do. And I want to talk about what are the benefits you get from listening. Well, the most important thing is you absolutely validate and respect the person you're talking to. And that was what my son wasn't getting from me. Now, if you validate and respect someone, which I think is one of the most important things you could do with anyone, is it means they're more likely to respect and listen to you. So in other words, if you want to be heard, you must first hear. And then also, you know what? If you really listen, there's a very large chance you're going to learn more because you're open to really hearing what they're saying. Because too often we're just sitting in that space of we've already made up our mind, we're closed off, and we've got to open ourselves up more. And the very powerful thing is that we know that in negotiation skills and things like that, it gives you the ammo to construct the argument back, because they give you all the information you need to feed back in a selling proposition or to counter what they're saying. And we know that, evidence shows that skilled negotiators use active listening 9.7% of the time, and actually unskilled negotiators only use it 4.1% of the time. And summarizing, one of the final bits of listening, skilled negotiators use it 7.5% of the time and unskilled negotiators only 4.2% of the time. So actually there's very clear evidence that actually it really helps in your ability to negotiate. But let's talk about how do you do it? Well, I think it's a mindset rather than it is about techniques. And it's this coming from a place of I genuinely respect you and I want to acknowledge you as a person. And I really want to hear what you've got to say. So there's this openness. Wow, you know what? I might just learn something here. And there's like quietening the chattering mind. It's almost like a mindful state of just letting your thoughts drift in and drift out again. And being present, staying in the moment, really being there for them and being there for yourself. And I think we've got to be aware of the biases. We all sit in places of biases, and at least be able to hold those biases lightly and be aware we cannot come into a place without having these unconscious biases going on. So to this idea about be here now, be totally focused, be dedicated to that one person. Switch off the phone, switch off the computer, turn your chair to face them. If someone interrupts, says, no, not now. You've really got to demonstrate you are focusing on them. And when you do things like that, they really notice it. Versus when you come to the office and, you type, go and talk to me. It's totally disrespectful. I remember once being in a meeting and I was talking and the person, was playing power games and got up and was looking out the window, and I just stopped talking because I wasn't prepared to not be listened to. So we all know what it's like when we're not being listened to. And the other thing is that we talk about listening, but it's about all the senses. You've really got to notice what is really going on with them. All those micro fluctuations in the face, their body language, the tonality, the speed. Everything is all information. And if we're totally attuned in, we're going to find there's so much information. We can't not communicate. I've used before this phrase that, only 7% of communication comes from the words we use, 38% from the tonality, and a massive 58% from our body language. So we've really got to tune into all of that stuff. So then we've got to listen at multiple levels. So sure, you're listening to the narrative of what's being told, the actual words. And I always think that, really there's, why do people choose specific words? You can pick up, oh, you felt crushed. Tell me more about why you chose that particular word. So the language they use is a richness that allows us to open up and explore. Then as such, we can listen at the emotion level. How is someone talking to you? What's going on in them? What's it almost engendering in you? What's the transference? How are you sensing it? How are you reacting to it? What's your counter transference? What's going on? Be aware of that at another level. And then another level you can think is, what's what I call the schemas, the paradigms, the belief systems that is basically making them think, and to say what they're saying. And when you do that, it gives you the opportunity to really start to ask some questions, to really understand. And we've got to ask from a place of curiosity, of genuine inquisitiveness, of not challenging, not trying to find fault, but just tell me more. I always think about how Columbo, that American detective always used to, it was always like sort of, Mr. Jones, can you explain a little bit more about what were you doing on Tuesday? Why did you go out the door and come back? That's where we get into an explanation. I always love the Leonard Cohen quote about, where there's a crack, the light comes in. So exploring some of those things is, I really noticed your voice changed at that point. Maybe tell me some more about that stuff. I'm really curious what's going on there. Now, when we talk about interventions, I think we've got to be really careful, because intervention seizes control of the conversation and steers it in the direction we want it to go. So very often what we really want to do is to not invade what they're trying to communicate to you. Let them say what they want to say. And I think it's really important to use the power of silence and maybe the power of non-verbal gesticulation. Carry on. Tell me more, because we want to get past what I call the already said. Because past those doors, we get into a whole new territory we didn't know about. And silence is so powerful. Other people fill the silence. Don't fill the silence yourself. And don't be rushing. Don't feel an impatience to say your bit. Allow it time. And I remember one of the clients said to me once, Paul, what I really loved about working with you is you always considered what I said. You didn't suddenly jump in with whatever was going to say. You always thought about it. And I think that's a great, gift you should give to the other person. You are really valuing what they say, and that gives them validation. And obviously we have the final thing about replaying back. This is what I heard. And maybe you do want to use their specific language because they chose that word specifically. And you say, have I got that right? And allow them to say, no, that wasn't quite right. And say, thank you. We could all practice the power of listening. And you can do it every single day. Thank you.